Member Bell.
I'm feeling actually a particular sense of urgency, specifically with respect to the OSHA grant and others, where a more active engagement of our board, not in a way to control the foundation, but to support the work of the foundation and interact with the foundation, that we should move forward. And I think the board members would be able to recuse themselves mindfully of any conflict of interest. Though on my board, I often will vote. I got a clarification from Vice Chancellor Bruckman about voting for contracts that were involved Pasadena City College on this board, and was found that I am able to do that, as well as when in the process of my board officer role at Pasadena, I will vote on travel requests for myself sometimes to go to Washington or to Sacramento for advocacy trips. So I don't know that there's, and other board members, but it's not a direct benefit to me. It's to send a board member to on a specific trip. So I don't think that there's going to be a lot of conflicts of interest. But in the sense of urgency, I would like to move that Member Reed and Member Ramos be appointed to the Foundation Board.
Are you making a motion?
I'm making a motion.
Okay, thank you.
Second it.
Thank you. Member Davis-Lyman, was there a question? Member McDonald?
No.
Okay. Member Himmelstein?
One point of clarification, maybe you can help, Stephen. What Alice said, you talking about board members recusing themselves or not participating in discussions on either side, whether you're talking about the foundation or the Board of Governors. But part of this purpose here is for Member Ramos and Reed to come back to this board and report on the foundation and their impressions. And I just wanted to make sure that that's okay. We're not there's no conflict there.
If I can provide a point of clarity. The discussion component of it is very well acceptable. What I'm saying is that if we're voting on items that can impact just this, and it's not just on the foundation side where it's the budget for the chancellor's office, but if we're voting as a body here on something that can impact that, we just need to make sure there's a clear separation of duties. But I would definitely think that part of their responsibility of them serving is to come back and do a report out, and also to participate in the discussions, regarding the foundation as well. It's just the voting component of it that needs to be clear.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve?
I'm sorry, Executive Vice Chancellor standing up.
Yes, I have no objection to that approach. I would only say that as a legal matter, that may not be required. It may be deemed appropriate for the board to limit their activities in a certain way as a result due to perception or due to the board's own policy determination as to what's the best way to proceed. I don't want to leave the impression to be left that there is a legal conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you. Member Haley?
Well, since I hope I engendered some of this conversation going on, I feel much better about it personally. I feel like we've thrushed it through, and I'm very satisfied, and certainly am happy to have Member Reed and Member Ramos be our representatives on the foundation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Could I ask for a point of clarification?
Yes.
It's not noted here, but number one, the amendment, friendly or otherwise, that there be a cap of 2 members would be important, I think, for the bylaws of the foundation and or the standing orders of the Chancellor's office. 2, this is a 6-year term, and I don't think that's been enumerated yet or spelled out anywhere. So I would like that to be made aware as well. So that said, that's just something that should be a part of the motion per se, that they're being appointed to a 6-year term on our board.
And to limit to 2 members.
And to limit to 2 members if that's appropriate.
Are we able to do that at this time?
We can schedule that for a subsequent meeting. That's an amendment to the standing orders, and if we can bring that back at a subsequent meeting.
And I also thought I would talk to Executive Vice Chancellor Bruckman about maybe a formal response and other legal opinions, so we can talk about that
Certainly.
Also.
And then just a point to speak to Member Lockyer's suggestion too. Can we take this action, but then if we find out subsequently or consult with the Attorney General, is there a value to consulting in a way that won't derail the process with taking this action. If we hear any conflicting recommendation from the Attorney General's office.
I guess we can always amend what we're doing today.
Well, the board appoints members to the board of the foundation. The board can also remove members from the board. So if you change your mind, you can do that at any time.
So is it too much to ask the staff just to do a check-in with the Attorney General's office at Member Lockyer's?
Oh, we can certainly do that. It varies depending on the sort of the nature of the question and the staffing and other issues. Sometimes Attorney General's responses come very quickly. Sometimes they take a little bit longer. But we will look into it.
Thank you.
Friendly, I accept the
And
friendly amendment.
they also should be able to put together a set of guidelines for those two board members to know when to abstain, and when they need to abstain and not abstain.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Member Paris?
The only other thing I would mention is because it was an audit issue for CPAC and Ed Fund, that perhaps you look into that as well to understand what exactly it was that was an issue that created the separation needed between the two boards of board members serving on both capacities.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question.
Member Reed?
Paul, what level of insurance do you cover as far as E&O insurance on your board, for your board members?
I would have to look at that, but I believe it's $1 million policy right now, and I can certainly review that and confirm that, but I believe that's the level.
You'll have to raise that limit if you put Gary on the.
Yeah, that's what we all
I was
thought.
concerned about that. I would
In a
note
burst of
also,
anger, don't hit anyone.
I want to thank Member Reed for serving on the Investment Management Committee, which is a statewide committee that consists of representation from the Foundation Board, the Board of Governors, the Chancellor's Office, my office, and also financial advisors appointed both by the Osher Foundation and otherwise, and also Member Ramos for his direct and very rapid involvement in our foundation work over the past couple of months. So these two individuals have certainly shown their passion for what we're doing, and we look forward to their continued involvement.
Great. Well, thank you for all that discussion. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations. Member Reed and Member Ramos. Thank you. And I'll just mention it to our board, so that puts your board at 9 members, and you have 2 more spots that you're recruiting for. So if anybody has any good thoughts, share it with President Paul Lanning.
Yes, thank you. And our bylaws currently do stipulate a maximum of 11, but I believe there's actually a contemplation of upwards of 30 members that can eventually serve on a board. And that simply gets back to what type of board we are, whether we are a traditional fundraising-oriented board where you tend to have a larger board with subcommittee assignments and so forth. But currently our bylaws stipulate 11 as our cap. And toward that end, I'm looking certainly continually for other individuals that would bring expertise in a variety of different ways that we may not currently have on the board or can augment what we do have. And with that, if it's okay, I'd like to move on to the foundation report.
Please do. Thank you.
In your packet, you have a press release that was issued recently, and I'm going to invite a couple of members of the foundation team up to the front to do a presentation on that. Prior to that, however, I'd like to mention a couple of topics. One, certainly the California Community College Scholarship Endowment Campaign is ongoing, as you all know. The Osher Gift Challenge period is coming rapidly to a close June 30th of 2011. So we have about 16 months remaining. I'm happy to say that 3 schools are about to be announced as having met their challenge grant totals. Those will be announced as soon as we receive final paperwork, but I can say that those 3 are completed, and they are College of the Desert, Monterey Peninsula College, and Oxnard College. All 3 of those are in the process of finalizing their gift agreements and transferring funds to the statewide endowment. So with that, of course, they all qualify for the full match from the Osher Foundation. So that's very exciting news for us to be able to announce 3 schools at once in the coming days, literally. Also, in the coming days, there will be an announcement on the heels of the Southern California Edison announcement at the last Board of Governors meeting that Semper Energy is investing $250,000 in the endowment as well, and that will benefit 12 different community colleges in green job initiatives, specifically, again, for the scholarship endowment. So those 12 colleges will receive investments that are matchable with Osher funds, ranging in dollar amounts from a few $1,000s to into the $10,000 to $15,000 range per school, and that's a real shot in the arm to those 12 schools as well. It's very similar in structure to the Edison grant that went to 10 different schools at $100,000 each, just last month. And I wanted to mention also that Chancellor Scott mentioned the Chancellor's Circle events that he has attended recently. The next one will occur at the Statewide Purchasing Officers Conference, which will be held in San Diego on March 24th to 26th. And I hope that members of the board that are in Southern California can attend that conference, or at least the Chancellor Circle component of that conference. We will send out information to all of you on that conference. That's a statewide conference that we convened for the first time as a standalone conference last year. Prior to that, it had been a part of the CSU Systems Conference. Due to funding cuts, the CSU system disbanded that conference, and we were able to launch it on our own thanks to a grant that we have from Office Depot to support the travel costs of many of the purchasing officers throughout our system. So with that, the purchasing conference this year will be held in Mission Bay on March 24th to 26th. The Chancellor Circle event will be occurring on March 24th, and that's a luncheon event. Member Himmelstein attended the Miracosta event in December. Hopefully you can attend again. This will be at the Catamaran Resort on Mission Bay. We're hoping for sunshine. Last year we were fogged in the whole time, so hopefully it'll be a little bit better this year.
See what I can do.
Perfect. And we do have, of course, room rates that are at a deep discount available and partially funded by that grant that we have in place. In addition, I wanted to note that the Foundation's next two board meetings are April 26th in Los Angeles, and that will be at the office of Mario Camara, a former member of this board and a original member of our board, and he will be hosting that event April 26th. And then July 13th here in Sacramento, we will be having our summer board meeting. That's the second day of the Board of Governors meeting. That prior night on July 12th, Chancellor Scott and I had talked about having a joint dinner of the Board of Governors and the Board of Directors of the Foundation. That would be Monday night, July 12th, and I certainly hope that all of you can participate in that dinner. That would be a very opportune occasion to welcome the four new board members of our board, two of whom I think you're pretty well aware of, and the other two you can get familiar with as well. Our new director, Sloan, has presented at the symposium the last 2 years in the fall, and brings a wealth of experience. I think you'll really enjoy getting to know her as well. And finally, we will be announcing shortly a new initiative under the Affinity Magazine umbrella. As you all know, the magazine has been published each of the last 2 years, and there are copies on the back table for anybody who has not received it. It was passed out at the last board meeting. But we will be launching an initiative on a year-round basis for continued updating of content on the website and regular newsletters going out to the field, both to our donors and to our colleges and college foundations, in an effort to continue to drive traffic and build awareness of the Affinity Magazine program and product. And that's for the benefit of all the community college foundations, of course, in their fundraising and alumni outreach efforts. We're very excited to have, just this week, we'll be interviewing two interesting folks, which I want to bring to the board's attention. Joe Morgan, the Hall of Fame second baseman from the Cincinnati Reds and a few other teams, who's been an ESPN broadcaster for the past 15 or 20 years and is very well known. He is a California Community College alumnus. And his broadcast partner on ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is John Miller, who is also a California Community College alumnus and entering the Baseball Hall of Fame this year. And we have landed interviews with both of them this week, and we'll be doing a feature on that Sunday Night Baseball announcing team that is known nationally for their work on ESPN for the last 2 decades. Both of them got their starts at our colleges, so that's a great story, I think, that will be coming forward very shortly. And not that I have an affinity for baseball, but we certainly are going to be featuring that in the next issue. And it's very timely, given that it's spring training right now. Yes. Yes. No, Joe Morgan played for Cincinnati, but he also played for the Giants. Yes, and the A's as well. And so we are looking forward to new feature stories being posted on the Affinity website on an ongoing basis, in addition to the print issue, which will, of course, continue with the customizable content for the colleges. But the statewide website for Affinity will continue to grow over time, and we're building out a wide variety of archive stories that I think will be of great interest to the colleges throughout the state. And with that, I wanted to touch on the presentation that we are ready to present. And if I could invite Marie Chomp and Cindy Stover up to the front. We recently announced the receipt of a up to $20 million grant over a 3-year period for a vehicle repair, retirement, and replacement for motorists program. And we're very excited about this program that will be growing our air quality programs that we already operate in a new and very exciting direction, and will provide direct benefit to the consumers in the state of California as well as to the environment. And very importantly, this involves more than 30 community colleges throughout the state of California and their auto repair programs, providing direct work experience for students in those programs, working with faculty and reaching out to the community and bringing community members onto campus who may otherwise not set foot on college campuses in our system. So with that, I want to introduce Marie Chomp, who's our Executive Director of Operations, and is Cindy Stover, we're out of chairs, who is overseeing directly this program, and we have a presentation to illustrate what this program is and how it will work. And so with that, I turn it over to my colleagues.
Thank you. So I'll just go ahead and get started while this presentation's getting up to speed. You should all have in your hands a copy of the handout, so I'll just get started. Recently, as a result of a class, yes, Steve?
Oh, no, see, can Jared might turn the lights?
I'm just turning on the computer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So recently, as a result of a class action lawsuit, the foundation was awarded a grant of up to $20 million to implement a vehicle repair, retirement, or replacement program. The reason that the foundation was chosen for this program, well, there are a number of reasons. One is our connection, of course, to the community colleges statewide. We're able to provide air quality related career technical training for students. We already work closely with the Bureau of Automotive Repair through a Department of Consumer Affairs contract to provide air quality testing services at 33 community college campus sites through our smog check referee program. We're also chosen for our successful history, of course, in managing large grants and contracts, and specifically for our work in air quality related programs. So as I mentioned, we have the smog check referee program with the Bureau of Automotive Repair. We also work closely with the California Air Resources Board in a series of contracts to conduct research, special studies, and provide database programming services. And last, we recently worked as primary contractor to the South Coast Air Quality Management District in the administration of a vehicle repair retirement program, which utilized our referee smog check program that also, I'd like to mention, employs students who work closely with the referees and get hands-on technical experience and training. So I'm just going to start up the presentation here. Excuse me for a moment. So our program is called the VRRRM program, and that stands for Vehicle Repair, Retirement, or Replacement for Motorists. And the program provides assistance to California consumers to accomplish emissions-related repairs to their vehicle, retire their vehicles, or replace their high-emitting vehicles. Right now, we're in the process of a 3-month planning and implementation phase, and we hope to start seeing cars come through the program by late spring, early summer. So this is an ambitious program with widespread benefits. In addition to processing an estimated 21,000 vehicles and removing approximately 850 tons of pollutants from California's airways, will directly involve over 35 community colleges and augment career technical education for an estimated 300 students. And I'll talk a little bit more in detail about the involvement of the colleges and the students in just a moment. So there are 4 program components to the VRRRM program, and basically the way this works is each component leverages existing programs and relationships that are already out there. The VRRRM program has been designed to supplement, not supplant, I want to point out, but supplement existing programs and fill voids by repairing, retiring, and replacing vehicles that aren't eligible for the programs that already exist. 2 of the program components, the VRRRM for Heroes and VRRRM for Pass components, will operate in the South Coast and San Joaquin basins, where nearly half of California's registered air vehicles operate. So this has really been designed to have a maximum air quality impact by getting at the area of the state primarily where most of the registered vehicles are, and where actually we see some of the most severe air quality attainment issues in not only the state but the entire nation. So I'm going to run through each of the program components quickly. So the first is Room for CAP, and CAP stands for the Consumer Assistance Program administered by the Department of Consumer Affairs and VRRRRM. And this program utilizes our existing smog check referee network and basically supplements the CAP program by offering monetary assistance to consumers to repair their vehicles after the CAP dollar or eligibility limits have been reached. So this slide shows a diagram of the pathway a consumer would take to get their car repaired through the CAP program. As I mentioned, this program operates in tandem with the existing VRRRRM program. And the referee network that will be utilized for this is at 33 different community college sites. Student lane technicians enrolled in the community college automotive programs are employed by the foundation and work alongside the referees while receiving valuable hands-on technical training. Through the VRRRRM contract, we do have lease agreements that the colleges directly benefit from to use the facilities for the smog check referee program. I'd also like to mention that this program, in addition to several others, uses our call center. The foundation has a call center here on site which employs student assistants and also provides valuable training for students. So basically the way this program works is if a consumer comes in for CAP assistance and then becomes eligible for what's called a repair cost waiver and isn't able to repair their vehicle, VRRRRM steps in and hopefully gives them the monetary assistance to be able to repair those cars that they weren't able to repair under the CAP program. And then we're taking those polluting cars off of the roadway, hopefully by providing the money for those emissions-related repairs.
I have a question. Does monetary assistance mean it will be paid for that person completely?
Up to a certain amount.
Up to a certain amount, okay.
Up to a certain amount, and it's paid directly to the repair stations who are performing the repairs on behalf of the consumer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next program component is Room for Heroes, and this is one of the programs that operates in Southern California in the South Coast Air Basin. And it also relies on existing infrastructure. South Coast has an existing repair or scrap program, and those who do not qualify for the existing repair or scrap program are then referred to the VRRRRM program. So this is the diagram of how the pathway a consumer might take to get their vehicle repaired, replaced, or retired through this component of the program. This program component uses what's called a weekend event model, where basically consumers visit a community college campus and actually receive emissions-related testing to their vehicles at the community college campus. This program component leverages South Coast's existing marketing and outreach efforts, so they, through a contract with another vendor, have marketing and outreach services that are focused on grassroots local efforts to get consumers to participate in these programs. So we're able to leverage that existing infrastructure and relationship. So when the weekend events are held on the community college campuses, not only are there opportunities for the automotive students who volunteer to work in these events, but there are also other opportunities, for example, culinary arts students who provide food for the events. In the past, these weekend events are something that have been going on outside of the VRRRRM program, and in the past, we've been able, through the weekend events, diagnostic equipment that was utilized for the weekend events has been donated to the colleges, and we hope to continue doing that through the VRRRRM weekend event model. So when this equipment's donated, of course, the colleges have ongoing benefits from the hands-on training that they receive through the donation of this equipment. And this program component also utilizes our call center, which, as I mentioned, employs students. Room for Pass is the next program component, and similar to Heroes, Pass will leverage marketing and outreach efforts already in place in the San Joaquin area of the state, and will use a weekend event model to solicit and refer consumers to the program. So the pathway for a consumer is very similar in Room for Pass, and actually what's happening with Pass is that in San Joaquin, there is not an existing repair program, so what VRRRRM does is it becomes a mechanism for adding a repair program to this portion of the state. One thing that's a little bit different about the PASS program is that instead of using the Foundation's call center, the call center in San Joaquin will be used. And the last program component that I'll talk about is the room replacement incentive. And this is kind of a cash for clunkers style program for used vehicles instead of new vehicles. And this component of the program is designed to work in tandem with AB 118's vehicle replacement component, which offers consumers incentives to replace high-emitting vehicles with a newer, lower-emitting vehicle. VRRRM intends to capture customers who don't qualify for AB 118 or who live in an area where AB 118 or other public assistance is not available. This diagram shows the alternate entry points for participation in the replacement program. So consumers can be solicited to participate in this program through two primary methods. One being the referee network. So as consumers go through the Smog Check referee sites, the 33 sites across the state, they can learn about this program. If our referee sees that they have a vehicle that might be eligible for this program, they'll be referred. And then also through participating auto dealerships, again, similar to Cash for Clunkers. And this program also utilizes the Foundation call center. So in conclusion, VRRRM is definitely ambitious, and we hope to bring a lot of benefits to Californians in several ways through the programs. Students participating in the program will benefit from hands-on training and experience. The colleges will benefit through the possible donation of diagnostic equipment. And another element that's interesting and important to the colleges is that because program outreach and weekend events will be conducted on the college campuses, through this program, we feel that we'll be increasing access to the colleges by the public. People who may not have otherwise been to their local community college site, or who may not have thought of community colleges as an educational option, will be introduced to their local college campus. Local economies will benefit from the additional revenue VRRRM will bring to small businesses such as repair stations and auto dealers. Consumers, of course, will benefit from the monetary assistance that they receive to repair their vehicles. And last, all Californians will benefit from the air quality improvements that we hope to bring to California through this program. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for your time and ask Cindy Stover, who's the program manager over the program, to come up to answer any questions you may have.
Before you leave,
Yes.
we do have a question or two. Member Paris?
First of all, I want to congratulate you on receiving the $20 million grant. I think that's fabulous.
Thank you.
So when I'm looking at kind of the layout of the program, it looks like you guys are leveraging existing programs in a lot of ways, and you're adding to that. How much of the funding will actually go back towards incentives to the community? Because it seems like there's a lot of different incentive components. So of the overall $20 million grant, how many of that will be used? How much of that would be used for incentives?
So roughly 76% of the $20 million will be going back as what we're considering direct benefit, and that not only includes actual cash incentives that are paid out, but also benefits received in the form of smog, a smog check. So if someone goes to get their car smogged through the program, that's considered a direct benefit to the consumer as well.
And then I noticed on the student side of it, it appeared that it's going to impact 300 existing students, so you don't see any new students benefiting from this, or more students having access to this type of program as a result of the funding?
It's possible that there are students who will be attracted to existing programs because this hands-on training opportunity is now available. We don't know what that will look like. It's possible. The existing students that will benefit are students who are employed through the Foundation for the Bureau of Automotive Repair contract, and there's a rotation. It's a finite training program that the students go through, and there's a rotation each year of students who come through the program. And then, of course, the volunteers who participate at the weekend events are also.
So the funding's not going towards any expansion of access for students, so you can add more students to the program?
Not directly.
We are adding, I should say, students to the call center as a result.
That was my other question then.
Yes.
Because I noticed you mentioned the call center a couple of times. So how much, do you have an idea of how much additional staffing?
We're projecting right now 2 students immediately, and then as the volume increases, we need to reevaluate. But right now, there's an immediate process in place to hire 2 additional students currently. In addition, there's a possibility of a 3rd student being added currently, which would occur literally in the next couple of weeks. And then toward the end of this fiscal year, we'll be evaluating the impact of this new program as it starts to be implemented, with the idea that there may be opportunities for additional student positions as well. And again, this doesn't contemplate the involvement of other academic areas on a campus, such as Marie mentioned, the culinary arts programs and so forth. So I think that the ripple effect of this will be actually pretty pronounced.
And then the last question was, when you applied for the grant, was there an estimate of how much new jobs this would create? Was that part of the grant? Did you have to come up with a formula on that?
No.
No.
Thank you. Member Thomas and Member Haley, Larwood, and Lockyer, in that order.
You mentioned call center. Where is the call center located?
Across the hall and around the corner.
Here.
Yes. I'd be happy to give a tour at any time.
Member Davis-Lyman.
Thank you. Could you expand a little? I think I heard you say that in the Great San Joaquin Valley, there is not a program that you're going to hook up to when you said the San Joaquin area, and you're hoping this will stimulate the development of an automotive program. When we're reading in the Sacramento Bee that it's possible that at Sierra College they are shutting down their automotive program because of what's going on in our state in the economy. Can you just expand on that a little bit?
Sure, and let me clarify that when we say we're partnering in the San Joaquin area, it's with the San Joaquin Air Pollution Control District, not in the context of partnering with the colleges in that area. So when we're partnering with the district, that air district does not have an existing repair program for vehicles as a mechanism for getting at mobile source emissions reductions. So that's where we propose, through the infusion of the VRRRM money, to allow that area of the state, through their air pollution control district, to introduce this type of program. Does that clarify?
Did he clarify?
Yes, that was a question I wanted to ask about, but I'd like to go further with it. And that is, so there's no guarantee in your partnership with the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution Control District that they will set up any programs or coordinate with the colleges at all?
It's our intention that they will. So right now we're in the contracting phase with San Joaquin, so we'll be executing a grant agreement with them as one of our partners in this agreement, and it's our understanding that they'll be utilizing a weekend event model similar to that in South Coast, which utilizes the community colleges for the weekend events. And this is the room for pass component that we're talking about. But if we look at the room for cap component, which leverages the existing referee network, that uses the community college campuses where we have the smog check referee sites existing. So it's kind of, we're seeing involvement in San Joaquin through a couple of different ways.
So just to go a little further, I used to sit on that Air District Board, and that district goes from San Joaquin County down to Kern County. Of course, it's a huge area, and the winds go down the valley, and so as you go down the valley, it gets worse. The air pollution gets worse. So I hope they don't concentrate just on the top end of the valley. The bottom end of the valley does need that work, and at the colleges would be a good thing.
Well, that's one of the beauties of this program, is that it does operate statewide, and because it is a four-pronged approach with 4 different types of programs and approaches, we do hope to get across the state, and that goes back to satisfying the class notice and being able to benefit all of California with air quality improvements.
Thank you. Member Lockyer?
I wanted to applaud you and the staff and the leadership in creating this program, and all the programs that are being leveraged and how you filled the gaps. It's a wonderful program. I had a question about the room for CAP. I noticed that the 3 others, Heroes Pass and the replacement incentive, built upon the outreach and marketing efforts. What outreach and marketing efforts are planned for CAP, since it is statewide?
Thank you. So this program leverages the existing Bureau Bureau of Automotive Repair contract that we have. So these are consumers that are already coming through the Department of Consumer Affairs Bureau of Automotive Repair contract to our referee smog check stations. So it's the consumers that are already coming to our program that are not eligible, that fall out, and then we can directly refer them into this program. Thank you.
One thing I'd like to note, if I could, is this has been a process that took about 18 months of negotiations and proposals and counter-proposals and so on. And there was actually an independent administrator appointed by the court to essentially arbitrate this process with us in terms of arriving at a final proposal. This originated from one of the attorneys involved in the class action case learning of the OSHA agreement and approaching us by result of him finding us online as a result of that announcement that came out, of course, as you all know, about 18 months ago. And so the ripple effects continue to be felt of a philanthropic investment in our system emanating outward to additional opportunities that benefit our colleges throughout the state. The impact of that investment has now been felt in the statewide capacity building study that we're currently engaged in, funded by the Kresge Foundation, and now directly in this grant program as well, which is, of course, a monumental program. So I hope that the public starts to realize that the community colleges play such a vital role in their communities, and in particular the philanthropic and business communities start to realize, as I think they are now with SEMPRA and SoCal Edison jumping in, that this is a place to invest, and the benefits of that investment are being felt significantly.
Who was the law firm?
There were actually about 6 different firms involved. I'd be happy to email you all the specific individuals.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you. Great work.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah.
Can I ask
Sure, Member Baca.
not on this program specifically, but on the OSHA grant, is it your belief that we can achieve the OSHA grant match through the community colleges and their level of contributions?
We're on the record currently, correct.
And what,
I will say that currently we have about 45 colleges that have already made contributions toward their endowment goals. Total, we have close to $10 million now raised, and that's, when I say raised, that means having arrived at the foundation statewide endowment. We are very, very cognizant of the fact that there are other funds out there that have been earmarked already for this campaign but are being held currently at the local level to essentially accrue interest that those college foundations can benefit from before the transfer occurs. So there's no real way to quantify what that number is right now, except anecdotally, college by college. In fact, Member Malumed talked to me about Long Beach City College and the fact that they anticipate meeting their goal entirely. But we have not received anywhere near that total goal from them yet because it doesn't benefit them necessarily in their current operation to do that. That said, it's a monumental goal in front of us over the next 16 months, and our hope is, I think we've seen in the specifically in the last couple of months with these additional colleges meeting their goals and with the SoCal Edison and SEMPRA gifts being announced, that the traction now is there that took us some time to build because literally this was announced before that infrastructure was in place. Can we meet it in 16 months? It's going to be a very, very difficult task, but we have momentum now that did not exist a year ago or even 6 months ago. So I would say that I think we're going to start seeing significant chunks of that goal being met on a repeated basis that did not happen in the first 6 to 12 months of the campaign. And that's the nature of a campaign. Generally speaking, that first year takes some time to get going. The second year, which we're in now, we're seeing some of those major gifts and major transfers occur. Oxnard, for example, their gift was derived from earnings from a farmer's market that they operate there at the college, which is another earned income opportunity for colleges. And the proceeds from that event over a period of time were collected and earmarked for this fund, and that again is unrestricted operating dollars that they chose to invest in their scholarship goal. And so that said, I think there are opportunities like that at a number of colleges through our system, and they're contemplating how to do that right now. College of the Desert received a planned gift that met the goal for them, as did Bakersfield some months back. So I think we're going to see in a variety of different manners the colleges working to achieve their goals, but it's incumbent upon all of us, and I would say upon the entire Board of Governors as well, to continue to communicate to the local colleges how critical it is that they do meet that goal and what the time factor is, because that money that's on the table, that record-setting and historic match does expire. And it expires June 30th of next year. So we have a limited time period in which to make hay. And that's, I think we are making hay, but we've got a ways to go.
In terms of your office, what would you attribute the motivation throughout the state to, and what is it that you would plan over the next several months in terms of your interaction with the various campuses or various foundations?
The single most effective thing that's occurred over time has been the opportunities we've had to visit in person at the local level with a foundation board, with an executive director of a foundation, with the college president, and with the administration of the college. Face-to-face, in-person, on-site visits, which of course is very unwieldy in a system of our size and a staff of our size to be able to continue to do that, but we have done that in a variety of different venues, both at local colleges and at regional meetings, and at some of the statewide meetings. We've certainly presented at the league conference, the trustees conference, and so on. But that said, the opportunities at the local level, for example, when I was at Taft College and at Bakersfield College in December, those opportunities at Monterey Peninsula College, other places like that, and that's why the Chancellor Circle events are so important as well. We started as a result of our efforts with the Osher campaign, we started now convening the executive directors of the foundations as a part of the Chancellor Circle for the first time ever. In January was the first time we had done that, and we are having breakout meetings with those foundation staff members after the luncheon at each of those sessions, similar to what Chancellor Scott does with the CEOs in those locales. And that's proven very fruitful, I think, in involving those folks and making them realize they're part of a greater whole as well, and that they're not existing in a vacuum in a small region somewhere where they don't feel that anybody else feels their pain, perhaps. We have challenges of similar ilk at every college throughout the state, and those foundations are all wrestling with staffing shortages, with lack of resources, with budget cuts, with literally a de-investment in the foundation operations by the administration at the campus. So the more we can pound the pavement at the statewide level and get into the local levels and meet with those folks, the better off we are. At Taft, I will say that it was a revelation to them when we were there in December, and their goal is modest, as you might expect, given the FTES count. But we have, I think, leaving there, both meeting with President Duncan and with the Foundation Board of Directors, a very, very firm commitment that they will meet their goal. And they, in fact, have recently hired an executive director for their foundation who is somebody coming in from the Cal State system with a very good experience and strong passion for what we're doing. So I think, again, anecdotally, site by site, we're seeing that start to take hold. However, those colleges we haven't been able to get to, some of them are very far-flung and facing challenges in terms of making this a priority.
Just one last thing. I'm wondering if they collectively, they recognize that, as we do, because we had the executive director of the Osher Foundation here, that deadline is fairly pretty firm from what
yes. Well, and she is, Dr. Bitterman has attended the last two network symposiums, which occur in October of each year, and that includes foundation board members and executive directors from throughout the system. And she, and Chancellor Scott, I think, has seen her present both times. She is very, very firm about that being a very real deadline, and I think that news is out there. But again, unless we keep banging the drum, it becomes something that occurred a few months ago as opposed to something that's in your face every day. And literally, the foundations are challenged with continuing their operations. So this has to remain a priority, but it has to do so by the fact that we're continuing to make it that. That said, there's no shortage of information available on the campaign to any college, both electronic and in print, and our efforts at outreach continue. But it's that personal touch that really makes a difference for all of us. So anytime you have the ability to talk about this, please contact us if you need resources. We have everything available, again, both electronically and in print form, and are happy to make visits if there's a board meeting or a community meeting on a campus where it makes sense for us to be there. We will endeavor to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Chancellor Scott had a comment.
Well, I think you've seen demonstrated the two focuses or foci, I don't know for sure what the plural is, of the foundation. One is they have done very well in terms of contract management. And as we all know, that contract management not only does a world of good, as this contract involving polluting automobiles will, but it also gives an administrative fee to the foundation, which is helpful in their operation. The second one is, of course, the OSHA grant. And I want to second what Paul said to members of the board. If you've got contacts with a college in your area, this is a good time to let them know. Now, what is their motivation? Why would a foundation, for instance, I'll use Pasadena City College, since I'm fortunately going to be on a conference call with them this week about the OSHA Foundation. What would be their benefit? Well, their benefit is simply that for every dollar they raise, they'll get 50 cents more if they put that into the OSHA Foundation. And furthermore, we have such a good investment board that can make sure that those investments are safe. They don't have to worry about that. And in fact, I would venture to say that in most cases, the investment advice that we have up here is better than the investment advice they might have on a local level. So it's of increase to them. Now, we've already, handed out the first part of the OSHA grant, and Gary, you might mention, but he attended when the OSHA grant, it comes out every fall, and in a small college like Porterville College, it was something that was very, very meaningful to those students who received that grant. So we have $25 million already that's just been given to us by the OSHA Foundation, but we can increase that by $75 million. If we are able to raise $50 million, the OSHA will come through with 25 more. So I'm just trying to point out to you what the advantage is. If you go and talk to a college, they can take that money and increase it by 50% by investing it with OSHA. And you could tell them a little bit about I thought that was good at the retreat yesterday of what you told about Porterville.
Well, and I didn't realize the impact that it had on these students, that $750 could mean that much to them. And there was 5 recipients, and the school made a big to-do over it, and I thought it was very positive feedback. And I think it was their way to kind of kick off their contribution towards the OSHA Foundation, and it seemed to be very effective, especially seeing that the money was actually getting out. And I think that is the proof in the pudding, if you will, that we talk about these programs, but when they actually unfold and the students become the beneficiaries, it's a whole different ballgame. So I'm pleased to see that some of that's rolling out as early as it is, so that we don't have to wait till the end result to see those numbers. But it means a lot to those students.
It does, and I'll underscore what I've said previously, that 1,250 students received this year $1,000 scholarships for the academic year, or a fraction thereof based on the allocation at a local level. But those 1,250 students will ultimately become over 5,000 students a year if we can meet this $100 million goal. And that, of course, that number will continue to grow over time as the earnings of the endowment build. But to reach 5,000 students with a single scholarship endowment is unprecedented, literally not just in this state, but anywhere in the country. To have a single scholarship endowment for a statewide system like this has never been done at the community college level. And so $25 million, while very admirable and very exciting for those 1,250 students, 5,000 students a year would be much more exciting, and I'd really like to see us get there. We are getting there. With that said, again, with the $10 million or close to it that we have accounted for currently, that kicks loose another $5 million from the OSHA Foundation. So that puts us now at close to $40 million that will be in the endowment at the conclusion of this year. That said, we have additional monies already coming. We know that. That doesn't include, for example, the Sempra dollars, or at this point yet, even the SoCal Edison dollars. So we are making progress, and I think every number you hear will be conservative because it hasn't yet reached our account. But we are not at $100 million yet. So the more we can do to bang the drum, the better.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Were you going to have the other lady come up and speak also? I wasn't quite
She's here as our expert on the air quality program. If there's any question, technically speaking or otherwise, that she can answer, And that said, I would invite any or all of you to email us or call us should there be questions once you've absorbed. Certainly was a very intricate program with the 4 different diagrams and so forth on your PowerPoint. Feel free to digest that and contact us at any point. We're happy to talk about this in greater detail, either, again, via email or in person or by phone anytime.
And thank you very much. And I also just want to mention again, in July, when you have your board meeting in this building on Tuesday, your meetings are open to the public, so any of our board members who are interested can come and sit and see how your wheels turn.
Yes, absolutely. We welcome that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. We have a member of the public who would like to address us.
Yes, Ron Norton Riel from the California Teachers Association.
Thank you.
Good morning. I guess as I sat there, I was conflicted because my understanding, and it certainly could be just my understanding of why we have the foundation, is to help our colleges and our students. And the very first question I asked myself was, what % of the millions of dollars of what we just heard was going to our colleges and our students? And then as I listened, I was told 2 of our students will be at the call board. So I think it's a great idea to have a partnership with the Air Quality Board and a community, but I didn't understand the connection between the community colleges and our students and the demonstration of what we just heard. And I think that it almost is outsourcing. I mean, are we using our colleges so that these entities come on our campus, but what is our campus getting out of it? I don't know. It lost me. It seemed to me that we were outsourcing again, and I don't think any of us want to outsource. And certainly the foundation, I believe, wants to assist us with our colleges and our students, but I just didn't get the connection from that presentation.
Would you like me to address that?
Yes, sure, please.
In answer to that, and I apologize if there was a lack of clarity, it's a rather intricate program, but at all 33 to 35 of the colleges, this directly involves the educational programs, the auto repair programs at those campuses, which of course involves those students and faculty on those college campuses at every one of those sites. In addition, our call center, I mentioned that we're hiring 2 additional students. We already employ 4 students at that call center, so this will bring, just in this office, an additional 2 students to those that are already working in the call center. But the real impact, I think, will be at the local levels, as I mentioned, with not just the auto repair programs, which involve those students and faculty members in those programs, but also the associated programs that will be participating as well. Again, whether it be the culinary arts programs that are providing meals at those events when the site-specific events are being held, or the communications programs that can be involved in the local marketing efforts for those programs. Actually, I think the ripple effects of this in an educational sense will be very strong and very, very widespread amongst the students in our system. But this is specifically geared toward the auto repair programs in our colleges. And as I think we all know, those programs are vital in our workforce development efforts in the system. And students that are pursuing careers in auto repair receive hands-on technical training. And again, those colleges will receive as well equipment that will remain long after this program departs. And that equipment gives them specific expertise that is very, very marketable in the job sector, where just graduating without that direct hands-on experience is somewhat of a barrier to entry into those specialized fields, particularly with the diagnostic equipment that we're talking about, which is not only prohibitively expensive for many of our programs, but also rather intricate in terms of the usage. So that said, I would welcome anyone to visit one of our referee sites and talk with our faculty members there. We can arrange a visit and certainly prepare for whoever the visitors may be a full demonstration of what the students are involved in.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments, questions, members of the public? Thank you. We'll move on to our next item, item 3.3, board goals for 2010. I am just going to go over what I mentioned earlier to put it into the record. Number one is develop a formal report on veterans. What we discussed yesterday is that we would have an inventory with some specific information about what's going on at all our campuses, a publication about our status where we are now, so we have something we can take when we go and tell people this is what we're doing, but we also do not want to just look in the past. We know we have to be looking in the future. And with Vice Chancellor Carbaugh, there's an upgrade to our website, so that's exciting because it needed it. So thank you for your help with that.
Yeah, and thank you, Madam Chair. I would just add...
Microphone, thank you.
With regard to the website, and we did add a link, much more is being done, and so hopefully within a few months you'll see some additional upgrades and a stronger pathway to information for veterans.
Excellent. Number two is a joint meeting with the State Board of Education. We're waiting to pick a date, and then we're interested to hear what they'd like to talk about with us. And we had a few subjects we would like to talk with them about, and hopefully we can get some testimony on some subjects and prioritize common goals and things that we both might work on. So we're looking forward to that in a very positive way, not as blaming anybody for anything that's not going well. And the third thing is legislation to provide more autonomy for the Chancellor's office, especially regarding the Vice Chancellors. And we have Assemblymember Ira Ruskin, who is going to author the bill. And that is a work in progress. When you think you know what you want, the way the law is written, you have to be flexible and deal with the way the law is written. So our Chancellor is working on that with the Assembly member. So those are our three goals that we're stating for 2010. Any other comments?
I would move adoption of those goals.
Thank you.
I second.
Second, Member Azumi. Any other comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And abstentions. We're moving along, which is lovely. I'm sure we have some things we can do in our later afternoon today. But our lunch, I know you must be starving. It will not be served until 12. So I'm going to ask Vice Chancellor Garcia to start on our report of government affairs, if that's okay with everybody. Please come up. We're on item 4.2.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Chancellor Scott and members. First, let me apologize. I don't have my state legislative updates here. We were expecting to have them brought in at lunchtime, so you'll get them soon after. And but what I'll do is we'll cover the state legislative update, and then Valerie Purnell, Assistant Vice Chancellor, will cover the federal update. And we'll just give you the thumbnail sketch of what's in your materials that you can review more carefully on your way home. So for the state legislative update, let me just give you some context about where we are in the process. We're now entering the busy committee hearing season. Committees are gearing up to start hearing all the bills that are becoming eligible to be heard in the first house. And so you're going to hear maybe in the newspaper about various bills that are being acted upon, and they have until late April to pass bills out of the first policy committee. So we're starting that period. We also have the special session, the 8th extraordinary special session taking place, at which point we're also hearing a lot of budget-related bills that are on a very fast track, as well as jobs-related bills. So you've got a mix of special session and regular session bills, so it can be somewhat complicated. The way they're noted, though, the bills with an X next to them are the special session, and then the regular session bills would just be noted as SB or AB, whatever the number is. There's a lot of activity going on this week in the Capitol, lots of advocacy groups, but also the Assembly is swearing in their next speaker, Assembly Member John Perez, and we've been working very closely with the incoming speaker and look forward to having a strong relationship with him. I'll talk in a moment about some of the legislation that he's interested in working with us on. But we also have two new leaders in the Assembly and the Senate, minority leaders. In the Assembly, the new minority leader is Assembly Member Martin Garrick. And in the Senate, and I believe this might become official today, Senator Bob Dutton, someone we've all worked with. So we're looking forward to the new leadership team, and we'll be meeting with several of them tomorrow during our Advocacy Day meetings. One more note about this election, this legislative session is it is an election year. So of course, elections do tend to influence various activities in the Capitol. So of course, that's something that we'll be watching for and monitoring as we move through the process. So it's a busy year. It's a political year. Lots going on. But the overriding theme for this legislative session really is jobs, 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 and economic recovery. So we're grateful that we are finding that more and more of our legislative friends are recognizing the pivotal role community colleges play or potentially play in preparing students for the kinds of jobs that are emerging in the industries that are experiencing greatest growth. So we're pleased that they're looking to us to partner with us and figure out ways that we can step into that role more effectively, knowing that there are limited resources. So lots of the earlier comments about emphasizing how critical it is at this point to open access to those 200,000 some odd students who aren't able to gain access to classes will be a key part of our overall message. But in terms of actual bills, in your legislative update, you'll see bills are categorized in jobs-related bills, bills that are specifically designed to increase jobs, and there are two in particular that I would point out. One is a special session bill, and one is a regular session bill. The special session bill is SB X 831 by Senator Cedillo, and this bill would appropriate $20 million to the community colleges to help with energy management programs and provide the increased capacity to train for those programs. So this is a program that directly benefits community colleges and increases our capacity to provide training in this particular energy management area. The second bill is SB 964, and this is a regular session bill, and this is by Senator Alquist, and this is a high-speed rail bill, but it would appropriate $25 million specifically to the community colleges to invest in developing high-speed rail training programs and working directly with the High-Speed Rail Authority to develop those training programs. So those are two key areas. I think they will serve as great models if in fact they're approved in how we can very quickly and nimbly step up and provide the specialized training to meet a particular emerging need for the state of California. So we'll obviously be monitoring those bills carefully, and Chancellor Jack Scott testified in support of the energy management bill, and I think that we're finding a good reception to our role in the development of these job training programs. There are a list of other bills related to jobs and work training. A lot of them are still what you would call spot bills, meaning they're placeholders, but we're involved in a lot of behind-the-scenes conversations about the content of these bills, and you'll see those emerge in the next weeks and months. The second area that I'd like to touch on is transfer. I think with all the publicity around UC and CSU redirecting so many thousands of students away from those four-year institutions, that their clear options are the community colleges. And with the discussion about impaction at the community college level, and then also concern about the transfer process, how effectively it works, you're seeing a lot of legislation introduced that tries to streamline the process, make it more transparent for students, and allow them to transfer more quickly. A lot of those bills are still in spot bill form. Senator Alex Padilla has reintroduced a bill that we talked a lot about last year, that Assemblymember Bell introduced, and this is the bill that would take a community college student that has prepared for, has received an AA degree, or they have met all the requirements for an AA degree, but they plan to transfer. Their AA degree will designate that they're transfer ready, and that would give the student a clear sense if they're transferring that they've gotten their AA and that they are transfer ready. That bill's been reintroduced this year, but there's another bill that was introduced by Assemblymember Fong And this bill would basically say any student.
What's the number of the Padilla bill?
The Padilla bill is SB 1440. The other bill, transfer bill, which I will just point out, is AB 2302 by Assemblymember Fong. This bill appears to go a bit further and would say anyone who is eligible for transfer should automatically get an AA degree. And there's been lots of concerns about that particular approach, and I think within the community college community there'll be many different views about how that would work. But I think the important point is for us as a system to look at how important transfer is in the minds of many. So many students, because of affordability issues and because they simply can't get into four-year institutions, they're turning to us, and we're the option available. So making that connection between streamlining transfer and ensuring that they get a space in classes is obviously going to be a key message for us to address. The other area that I'll point out as a key area is college affordability. Lots of legislation dealing with streamlining financial aid, increasing Cal Grants A's and B's. One proposal would require that Board of Governors use the FAFSA form instead of our BOG fee waiver self-certification process that we use, that they would propose that we use this alternative approach, which has significant implications, and we'll be working with that author, that's Assemblymember Portantino, to talk about what impact that could have on our most at-risk students who may not be as familiar with the FAFSA and have been using the BOG fee waiver forms pretty readily. So there'll be a lot of education and meetings that we're going to be having in the next weeks and months about these various bills. But I think the key issues are, again, jobs, economic recovery, work training, transfer, and student affordability. And lots of talk about the fees. Already proposals have been introduced or proposed, at least by the LAO, to increase fees for students, our students, and I think that's going to generate a lot more discussion about how affordable a community college education is. So that's just the thumbnail sketch of what's out there. All the details, bill numbers, authors are listed in your state legislative update, which isn't here yet, but you will get it, I promise you, and your legislative matrix. So you'll get, many of you who've been on the board will recognize this. This is the bill that we take all the 100 and some odd community college related bills. We try to categorize them by top priority, second priority, third priority, so that you don't have to wade through every single bill. You can focus on the ones that seem to be most significant. The blue highlighted bills are the ones that have been introduced this year. The ones that aren't highlighted, they're holdover bills from last year that are still in play and are moving along. So that's how you would use this tool to monitor all the community college legislation that we monitor. And then the state update will just give you the highlights of what bills are most significant.
Well, thank you. The chancellor has a comment.